Hi, it's Lerald. In this video, I'm going to talk about how I've been making divines with my Kingsmarch mapping teams over the past couple of days. In our previous video about Kingsmarch, I feel like I got most of everything right except for the stuff about the mappers. I lamented that these guys suck. All they ever do is die and they never bring back anything of value. But I was just using them wrong. I have actually made several divines with them over the past couple of days, more than I have made with the boats. I think more just in the last couple of days, in fact, with the mappers than I have with the boats all league long. So they really have wound up being very good in the end, despite kind of an inauspicious initial showing. I also have a couple of little tips just to clear up some misconceptions I've seen about Kingsmarch, and then I'll show off a random boss from the league mechanic that I only just discovered exists today. But first, don't forget to like and subscribe. All right, so let's start with the first misconception. This is something I've seen more on the Reddit, sort of a request for a feature that actually already kind of exists, and it pertains to the currency exchange. Again, not an auction house, but something that I have seen and kind of figured out while making a lot of trades, selling a lot of this kind of scarab and that kind of scarab and so on. I'm selling them all for chaos, for example. I put in the I want tab, I put chaos in here, and they've added some quality of life. You can click and then click there, and it will automatically fill in the ratios for you. And what people have asked for is the ability to click up here and have it automatically fill in the ratios. And, like if I were selling, let's say I sell these Legion Scarabs, 4 of them for three a piece, then I go, all right, I'm going to sell this Legion of Officers. Now it is listing as something else. Or maybe I wanted to sell these ambush scarabs. I have them listed 2 for 12. That's way off the market ratio. People would want the ability to click here. But the thing is that this already kind of exists. You can just simply hit backspace. You don't have to pull out a calculator, which is something that I've seen a lot of people complaining about. You know how many you want to sell, 20. And then if there's already a number typed in here, you can just simply select, backspace it all out, and it will automatically fill in the number that would pertain to that ratio. So you could just empty that box out, click it, it'll then fill that number in, then you click place order, and now it'll automatically post them. But I don't actually want to sell these ambush scarabs. I already sold all the scarabs I want to sell, just using that as an example. Another misconception that I've seen a lot is that having multiple jobs causes potential employees, workers around the town to have higher wages. We can look at this, for example, here. Susanna Zhongman, who is a rank 7 shipper, rank 7 smelter, is 212 wages per hour, and Rolt Berhoff is the same skills, 7 shipping, 7 smelting, and 6 mapping, and he's 716 wages per hour. This is actually not correct. What is determining the wages is just simply the most expensive job that they're good at doing. And mapping is about 5 or 6 times more expensive than some of these other jobs at the same level. And that's because mapping is 1, the most profitable thing that you can get out of the town, and 2, the one that has the highest chance of killing the NPCs. There's like a little bit of wiggle room in a certain job, but as you can see here, Eugene Duvall has rank 6 smelting and rank 6 mining, and Marlike Jagers here has rank 6 smelting, and they're within 4 gold per hour of each other. I managed to kind of luck my way into this, like this perfect layout here for kind of demonstrating this, but this is something I've come to find is that pretty much any worker who has mapping as a skill that's ranked up at all is somebody you don't want to use as any other job, even if they're like a very high level miner or farmer or whatever, because they're going to be just 4 or 5 times more expensive than somebody who is a high level farmer or miner and isn't a mapper. All the rest of the jobs are relatively inexpensive compared to mapping. Now, once you've hit max level with your town, once you've ranked up your town all the way, you get access to this new keybind or this new button here, reroll with high quality recruits. And this is really how you recruit high level people, especially high level mappers, so that you can have your mappers doing high level maps. And this is a valuable button. I just got a level 10 mapper. Excellent. That is exactly what I was hoping for. As you can see, his wage is over 3,000 gold an hour. Whereas like nobody else on this table is even over 1,000, and the only other one who's even close is this level 7 mapper. Everything else isn't even sniffing like 500 gold per hour. I'm gonna hire both of those guys, so definitely are both useful. It is a good idea to have a mapper or 2 in backup just in case, because your mappers can die. Even if you're playing it super safe, they still have a 1% chance to die in every map. But generally speaking, you do want to play things safe. And that's where I kind of want to transition over here to talking about mappers. And I'm actually really happy that that happened. I am going to set these guys to suspend once they finish their next map so that I can swap this rank 10 mapper into my sort of starting team, my first lineup here. So once you're at max rank on the map, mapping setup, you have 6 portals on all of your map devices, so you can have 6 guys assigned to each map device, and you have 3 map devices. So you have a total of 18 mappers that can be active at a time. And as we can look at the price of running these guys, 12,000 gold per hour for my kind of main unit, and I have sort of broken them up into teams. I have my team 1, which is about to have another rank 10 guy added to it. It's going to be very expensive, but very successful. But right now it's a rank 10, 3 rank 9s, and 2 rank 8s. And then my team 2 is, what is this? 4 rank 8s and 2 rank 7s. And then my third string is just a bunch of rank 7s. So ultimately what I'm going to do once I get this new rank 10 in there is I'm going to slot him in here, move one of these 8s over here, then just take one of the 7s out and move the 8 in. And then it's all 7s over here, so I'll just have a couple of 7s left over as backups in case anybody gets murdered. So when you're setting up maps for your guys to run, as you can see here, I have my kind of team 1 here, and we can see the amount that they've completed on all these maps: 100%, 100%, 79, 100, 100, 100, 198. And then they're in progress on this map. And as you put in maps, you can see what the expected map completion is, 58 to 100% on this one. And then the expected time is 1357. And most importantly, the chance for an Atlas runner to be permanently killed is 1%. I believe 1% is the floor. This is what it seems to be. 1% is the floor. Maybe that's even rounding up from like 0.5% or something. So you generally want to try and keep that chance for people to die low. For one, that costs you gold to rehire somebody. It's also just kind of like a time waste. It means if somebody dies, it means that they won't have completed the map. And you do want them to complete every map. They give substantially more stuff when they complete maps than they do if they only get 79% of the way through. And so this is kind of a big deviation from the way that we as players want to run maps, where we alch them up and then run them. And if you die, you die. You got 6 portals. These guys are all playing on hardcore, and so you kind of are okay. I have been totally fine with just literally doing scour and go, or doing transmute orb and go on a lot of these maps. And I haven't looked at what's in the returns for these maps, but whenever I open them up, I always just kind of look around for the currency, see if there's any valuable div cards, any valuable skill gems. I'll check some of the more useful bases. I always pull out all the maps and I just shove them right back in. Kind of useful self-sustain. I'll check jewels here very quickly. Don't know that that's great, but sure. And then I just discard all the garbage, and then I just shove the next jewel in. And that's kind of all that you really do with these guys. Ultimately, you want to make sure that they are at 100% as the maximum expected completion. The higher the completion chance, the better. That does mean the more returns. You don't really care about the time. They take however long they take, but you want that chance of an Atlas runner to be permanently killed to be as close to 1% as you can get it. Maybe it's better if it's a little bit above, like this map here where it's 3%, or even this one where it's 5%. If it's literally sitting, like if you're putting scoured a tier 1 white map in for a bunch of high level mappers, that's probably a waste. But you don't really want to go up into the 10s or 12s or 20s, and it is totally fine to do magic maps or even scoured maps. Again, I have had a bunch of divines already come from maps like this. A tier 15 1 mod map has thrown divines at me all league already, which is quite a big change from how I was doing it before, where I was just shoving in maps like I would expect to run and wondering why they weren't giving anything of value back. As you can also see, these guys will do various map mechanics, or they're generated to do map mechanics in their various maps. So sometimes you will get Abyss Jewels and Stygian Vises back. Sometimes you will get Harvest Life Force back. That's been pretty useful. And then you can also set them up to run maps that you wouldn't necessarily want to do yourself for time-wise, like some Guardian maps. And that is what I've been doing with my sort of first string of mappers over the last day, is I've been setting them up to do Guardian maps pretty much all day, getting me all these fragments of either like Shaper fragments, doing a bunch of Guardian of the Chimera, doing a bunch of just very annoying and slow boss fights on my behalf so that I can get those fragments out of them without having to spend 3 minutes waiting for Guardian of the Chimera to jump in and out of his various immunity phases. Very nice. We've gotten an Ambush Scarab, gotten an Exalted Orb, and got a Grand Eldritch Echo. I guess these guys are doing some fancy stuff. And so something I wasn't expecting to do during this video, but I think through the magic of editing, I am going to do. Since I recruited another level 10 guy, putting in tier 17 maps is actually an option at the max level map device. And putting in this random tier 17 map that I had in my stash, I have my possibility is of 100% map completion on this. It's a 6% chance to lose a guy. I'm hopeful that I don't, but I think that I'm going to put this in and then just kind of see what comes back from it. So I guess I'll see you in 15 minutes or so for my time, couple seconds for yours, and see what comes out of this. All right, here we are in the future, and this is kind of an experiment. Like I haven't put any tier 17 maps in yet. I haven't looked at this yet, so let's just kind of take a look here. And this looks pretty bad. This is kind of what I expected. This is definitely all of the bonuses that apply to tier 17s, all of the I guess there weren't any increased Scarab or anything on here, but just more maps. So kind of a bad tier 17 map to throw into these guys, to be honest, but just something I wanted to experiment with. But I don't really see anything all that impressive. I don't even see a single map in here. So it doesn't seem like they're benefiting from any of the tier 17 mods, which is okay. There is this ring. I think that's just a new ritual base. So, you know, I'll take that. And I'll take like some of the currency, the raw currency, of course. I mean, that makes sense. Yeah, ritual splinters, ritual base. I guess they did a ritual while they were in there, but for the most part, this gear isn't anything special. I do think it's probably because they didn't 100% it. If they'd 100%ed it, I probably would have gotten a tier 17 map boss fragment. I have stuck a couple of other ones in here. You know, the fact that I'm doing this with Fortress, which, just to look at I pulled the prices up here. Fortress maps are like 90 chaos, whereas Citadel maps are about half that, because Citadel is a terrible, boring layout. And I think that kind of nails down what you want to do with these guys. You want to throw in maps that you wouldn't want to run. Either they're corrupted in a way where you can't run them, like that last line there that says less recovery rate of life and energy shield. I can't do those, and this is a bog map. Nobody's going to want to buy this from me, so I'll shove that in there and I'll let them run a map that I couldn't do. Or maybe you get like a corrupted magic map or a corrupted white map where like nobody's going to buy that. It's functionally useless. You can throw it in and let these guys run it and actually get something valuable out of it. Or maybe you just have a huge surplus of a valuable map that you don't necessarily like the layout on, but you like the div cards. Burial Chamber comes to mind. Another thing that you can throw in here. Now, I did make one discovery while I was just kind of sitting around waiting here. And that is the chance for failure for these guys. The difficulty of it is actually not tied to the mods. It's tied to the quantity. Like we can see here, 1% chance to lose a guy, 55 to 100. And then if I chisel this up and I put it in, it didn't go far enough, but we can see at least, you know, I've played around with this with a couple of other maps, but you can't unchisel a map, but I've seen the chance for a guy to die go up. But as we can see, it went from 55 to 100 down to 49 to 100. So it did actually get harder for my map guys to complete this map just by me chiseling it up. Literally, that's all it took, was just chiseling it up. I didn't change the mods at all, and it suddenly became harder for them to complete this. So ultimately what I think you want to do with these, and you know what, I don't want any of this gear, so I'm going to discard this, and then I'm just going to check the other one since they did get further in this one. Yeah, nothing super special here, no divines or anything, no fancy scarabs really. So I do think that putting tier 17s in, unless you have pretty much a full set of level 9 and 10 guys, really just all level 10 guys, so they can pretty much guarantee that they're going to complete it. I think putting tier 17 maps in is probably a bad idea. Certainly putting in Fortress maps at 90 chaos apiece is a bad idea, but I wanted to experiment and see if it was a bad idea, and yes. Now, one thing I do really like about this is that this mechanic generates a lot of gear that you can throw into ROG very easily, and so it's very easy. You know, ROG at max rank, when this whole tab is full, he'll clear it out in only like 2 hours. So every couple hours, I pop back here, loot everything that they have that's, you know, gear, go throw it in at ROG, and then just whatever's left over, just toss that on the ground. And that pretty much fuels me on dust. I have like 3 million something dust, so I have more dust than I will ever need already, and we're only on day 9 or 10 of the league. Now, if you're not at the point where you have a bunch of red tier maps pooled up and you still want to get some maps for your guys, or maybe your guys just aren't ready to do red tier maps, there is a really easy way to get your hands on a handful of cheap white and yellow maps without having to go back and do white tier maps or unsocket your void stones, and that's to come to Kirac and just boot up one of his missions, and then that will reset his table, and then you can buy all of his white and yellow maps for relatively cheap. You can even buy the cheap low red tier map from him, and I will do this a couple times a day because he automatically gets a few missions a day, and then occasionally he will get extra missions. And I'll just buy all those cheapo maps, and then that way I can use that to fuel up my low quality team, because as you can see from my map tab here, I've kind of burned through all of my low level maps with my mapping boys. Now, all of my teams have gotten to the point where they don't really need any of these anymore, but you know, for next round of characters, it would be nice to have some of that stuff kind of banked up, a handful of lower level maps for next characters to be able to do that haven't already been eaten up by all of my mapping squad. And then finally, there is a boss associated with the mappers. I was surprised to learn this. I did not realize that they could get kidnapped, but I logged in this morning and I got a notification saying that they had been kidnapped, so apparently they can. There really wasn't all that much to this boss. He is an archer who shoots fire arrows. He has several different mechanics that all boil down to dodge the arrows. He has a fire line mechanic that will do kind of a split across the room, and there are a bunch of crates around the room, so it seems like when that fire line goes out, you stand behind the crates. That's what I did. It seemed like it worked. And then he does some other random arrows mechanics that you just like run out of a circle or run out of like dots on the ground that are landing all around you. I kept expecting this guy to do some damage, and he never did. He only had one immunity phase at 50%, and so like I kind of was just tentatively running around expecting for there to be a point where damage would happen. Never happened, and then I killed him, and I was like, oh, that's the end of the fight. And I think he threw like 40,000 gold at me, kind of like the pirate captain, so can't complain. But he seemed a little bit half-baked, actually like less of a fight even than the pirate captain, which was kind of disappointing, I suppose. Again, I have been completely surprised by just how good they were at generating currency. It's completely random. You know, you'll get a couple of chaos, a couple of exalts, a couple of life force here and there, and then boom, random divine. And that tends to happen pretty quickly. It doesn't really seem to be tied to the rarity of the maps. It really is just more like the higher the tier, the more I've seen of them. And the main thing really is just having your guys cycling through maps as quickly as they can with the lowest failure rate as possible, the highest success rate as possible, so that they're full clearing the maps and giving you the maximum possible stuff from it. It doesn't seem like tier 17s are a good thing. Maybe, you know, I will check back on that if it does actually wind up being something with a full set of tier 10 level 10 guys, maybe tier 17s or something, but seems like those are probably something you want to run on your own, unfortunately. All right, I think that pretty much covers it. Thanks for watching. Bye.